Welcome back as we are going to learn about components of the computer. What are the components of the computer? There are so many components of the computer. Example, just like to say, common components of human body. When we're talking about human, of course, there are components. You have your head, you have your eyes, you have your nose, you have your mouth, you have your hand, you have your neck. Those are human components. Computer too, for functionality, it must have components. That's why we say there are components of the computer and their function. The function of your hand is to touch. Okay? The function of your head, there are so many. Okay? Is to hold your eyes, mouth, your mouth, nose, your brain, your tongue, and etc. Okay? Then we have heart, then we have hands, we have so many things that are components of your body. We also have components of the computer. Join me as I take you through components of the computer. Yeah, guys, welcome back. So this is now a class to learn components of the computer. As I said, components of human body. Now let's learn about components of the computer. Computer has two main components. Okay, we have hardware and software. You have to understand what is an hardware and what is a software before you start computer. After definition of a computer, the next thing is to understand hardware and software. What are hardwares? Hardwares are physical, tangible parts of the computer. When we say physical, tangible parts of the computer, anything that is tangible is in the computer is hardware. For example, we have this. This is also known as computer monitor. Okay? This is hardware because it is tangible. Okay? This is hardware because it is tangible. Next, we have CPU. This is computer CPU, also known as Central Processing Unit. Okay? With the brain of the computer inside it. This is an hardware. We have the laptop. This is the laptop. The laptop is an hardware because it is tangible. The keyboard too, it is an hardware because it is tangible. So, hardware, physical parts you can touch. Those are hardware. There's no tough definition about hardwares. Physical parts that you can touch in the computer known as hardware. Number two, we have software. What are softwares? Softwares are programs, instruction you cannot touch. Okay? Software are hardware, just like wind. You cannot touch wind. Okay? So what are softwares? These are programs that are running on your computer. For example, you have a mobile phone and you're using WhatsApp. You cannot touch WhatsApp because WhatsApp is a program. You cannot touch Facebook because Facebook is a program. You cannot touch Instagram because Instagram is a program. So what is a software? Softwares are programs that you cannot touch, okay? But they are there to instruct the computer on what to do. For you to understand the difference between hardware and software keenly, take an example. Life and body. Life is like a software. Body is like an hardware. So your body is the hardware because it is tangible. You can touch yourself, but you cannot touch life. So life controls everything in your body. For me to raise up my hand, that is life. So we say to computer, that is a software that makes you control that. For me to jump, what is making me jump is the software. in me, that is life. If you remove life out of me, then my body will not function. And that is why we say dead. If you remove software from the computer, then the computer is dead. The hardware cannot work without the software. Neither the software cannot work without the hardware. Okay? That example is very well laid. Now, hardware also has components. What are the components of the hardware? Okay? These are physical parts of a computer. They are divided into two. Hardwares also are divided into two. Okay? We have input and output. Okay? Input and output. Just like you eat food, then you can still remove the waste. Input, output. When you eat, then you go to the toilet, you output the waste. Then when you eat, you input. So in computer, we also have input and output, but in a different way. So what are the input devices? Devices are tangible parts. We say input, hardwares, tangible parts. So let's go. What are input devices? Input devices used to enter data into the computer. The input devices will help you enter data into the computer. Whatever you use on your mobile phone, on your computer, to enter data, not information. Information is what you get after you enter data. I want you to mark the difference between data and information. Data is something that is unprocessed, something that human don't understand, but only computer understands. That is data, is a raw fact. Okay? Information is something that is consumable. So we say used to enter data into computer. What is data? Is a raw fact, as I've said. So what do we use to enter data in a computer? Number one, we have the keyboard. Like for example, you're using a laptop. We have laptop has a keyboard. This part here is the keyboard. You can see keys with the letters, numbers. We have command keys. This is the keyboard, different from the church keyboard. But the church keyboard came from this, okay, was programmed from this. Church keyboard is also a computer. Next, from the keyboard, we use keyboard to enter information, just like your book. You use your book for writing. Then we have mouse. What is a mouse? A mouse helps you control the movement of. I will show you the mouse. What you can see on our screen right now is the mouse. This that you can see, this is the mouse. What is the use of the mouse? It helps you control the movement of the cursor on your screen. The cursor is what you always see. That is like a spear that you see on your screen right now. This is what we call the cursor. The mouse will help you control the cursor by moving it on top of your desk or mouse pad. Or that is laptop has mouse pad, desktop use mouse. We have scanners. Scanner is also an input. When you input a paper on the scanner, you want a result from soft copy. Okay, that is input. You put hard copy, then scanner will scan it and convert it, process it to a soft copy. Then we have microphone. What is microphone? Microphone is also part of the computer, because when you have meetings on the computer, you must have a microphone. Though the laptops have internal microphone. You don't need to buy a microphone. This one will come with the internal microphone. So microphone is an input because it receives waves, okay? It receives waves in form of sound, and convert them, process them into an output information which is sound. Okay, that is the work of microphone. Then we have webcam. What is a webcam? A webcam is a camera. Most of the time when you go to the computer cyber cafes, you will see computers with the top cameras. Those cameras are called webcam. To those who are using, also this is a webcam, what you're seeing on your screen right now, this is what we call webcam, okay? It's a small camera, it's a small camera that is always pinned on top of your computer. With laptops, they are always on top here. This is the web camera, okay? We also always call it webcam. So this is not called a camera. In computer language, we call it webcam, okay? Web camera, webcam. So it's also an input. Why is it an input? It takes your image, convert it to a video, then from that you can have meetings, record yourself, and etc. So all these are input. It inputs your image, convert it into a video, processes to understandable information. Then we have output devices. After you input, then secondly, it is processed. Then thirdly, you get the output. But computer is very fast. Now, let us go through output devices. Output devices will give you information now. Input devices takes data. Output devices give you information. Whatever you see on your television, news, movies, those are when you're watching a movie, you put a flash disk. You put a flash disk on your television. When you are carrying a movie inside your flash disk, you don't say you are carrying a movie. That is data, because you don't know whether the movie is already crashed. You can't predict. It's still data. When you put it into your television and ready to watch it, now when you're watching the motion, that is what we call information, because now you can call it a movie. Now, output devices. Number one, we have monitor. What is a monitor? Monitor is the screen. We call it monitor. Monitor is the screen that gives you an output. This screen is called monitor. Nowadays, some people use TVs are also screen that gives us output. When you're watching news, the television or the news providers are now the people giving you input, then you watch output of the news, okay? They control the input. When you're watching movie, the flash disk will input and the TV will output what you see. Then we have speakers, okay? Of course, we said microphone will help you input sound, and the speaker will help you output sound. Just like at the church, when people are singing, they use microphones as input to input their voices, then be processed by the amplifier, which amplifies their voice up. Then the speaker gives the voice as an output. So the microphone is the input, the amplifier is the processor, and the speaker is the output. All these are just computers, because they are all coming from computer programs. Now, we have what is called projector. Projector is an output. This one is a projector. What is the work of the projector? Is to project the display in a wider angle as an output. Speaker gives out sound loudly. Projector projects the video or the image out loudly. So this is a projector that is an output. It gives you an output of what you're seeing. So now you know about the input, output devices. Now, let us go to storage devices that store data and information, okay? That stores data. We have in the computer, we have hard disk, okay? And with hard disk, let me show you what is an hard disk. Yes, hard disk. What you're seeing on your screen right now is the hard disk. This is the hard disk. It is used to store data in form of video, text, games. You can store them in the hard disk. Also hard disk, we have internal hard disk and external hard disk. External hard disk, you can move with it and use it. Internal hard disk, it is installed inside the computer. It is unmovable. So next we have solid state drive, SSD. Today, when you go to buy a computer, you need to ask them if the computer is using HDD or SSD. HDD means hard disk drive. SSD means solid state drive. Solid state drive is the modern hard drive that computers uses because it is more fast, okay, than HDD. We are coming out of HDD. SSD is very thick than hard disk, okay? So you need to know if your computer is using SSD. Next, we have flash disk. As you all know, let me first show you hard disk. This is hard disk and this is SSD. And now flash disk is also used for storage. This is flash disk. What you see on your screen here is the flash disk, okay? Now, next, we have cloud storage. Now, when we talk about cloud storage, we are now going to talk about the server system, whereby there are some questions you need to ask yourself. When you are on TikTok, you are dancing and recording your videos. Where do you store those videos? When you are on Facebook posting your pictures and videos, where do you store them? Because this is where now the server comes in, the grand giant drive storage system. Now, next, we're going to learn about internal components of the computer, okay? Internal components of the computer. Now here we are going to learn about the CPU, Central Processing Unit. And in the computer case lies so many components that we're going to learn in our next video after the break. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to our next topic after the break. I hope you enjoyed the break. Just to refresh your mind, we don't need to learn all the way. You need some breaks to just refresh your brain as you save the data so that when you process them and understand them, they become information. Now, what are we going to learn next? Internal components of the computer. What are the internal components of the computer? These are found inside the computer case. Most of the people call computer case CPU. Join me as we are taking you to showing you the difference between a case and a CPU. Join me next. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the CPU here. No. This is not the CPU. This is called computer case. Okay? This is the case of the computer. This is not the CPU. The CPU is the brain of the computer, as the name suggests, Central Processing Unit. Okay? It is inside the computer case. This is the computer case. So, let me show you the CPU. This is the CPU. And this is the computer case. CPU, computer case. Let us get inside the computer case and see what is inside. First, we will open the case. inside the CPU, we have this, and I will be showing you how they look, okay? Inside here, I will be showing you how they look so that you can understand every component inside the CPU. So inside the CPU, we have inside the case of the CPU, the case, not the CPU, the case. We have CPU inside this case, which is a central processing unit. This is the brain of the computer. When you hear people saying computer, computer, this is the brain. So this is the CPU. What you see here is the CPU. It is a small chip inside the case attached to the motherboard. You can see this is the CPU. Okay, this is how it looks. Then next we have the motherboard. The motherboard is the green board that is found in every electronic device with so many peripherals attached to it, with buses attached to it. So this green board here is also known as motherboard, okay? Then we have RAM. RAM means random access memory, RAM. What is the work of the RAM? It controls the speed of the machine. Like for example, if your mobile phone has a RAM, yeah, no, of course, all mobile phones have RAM. When you're going to buy a mobile phone, when your mobile phone has a high RAM, the speed is very fast. Okay? When the RAM is very low, the speed is very low. So this is RAM. Okay? This is RAM. We have laptop RAM and desktop RAM. We also have desktop hard disk and laptop hard disk. Okay, so inside here we have RAM. I've showed you what is RAM. Then we have ROM. There is RAM and there is ROM. ROM means random read only memory. It reads only memory. It's a permanent memory inside the computer. Okay, it reads memory, things like ROM. This is ROM. What you can see, this is ROM. So ROM can read DVD and CD. Okay, it read permanent memories. Why is it permanent memory? Because CD is a permanent memory, DVD is a permanent memory, not like flash disk where you can erase and reuse. Okay, when you write something on a DVD, you cannot reuse it again unless it's another rewritable DVD. Now, next we have power supply. This is power supply. Just like your estate has a transformer that supplies power and regulates power, even inside the computer, we have power supply. This is power supply. It supplies power in the entire computer case. Be it RAM gets power from the power supply, ROM gets power from the power supply, CPU gets power from the power supply. We have fan. Okay, what is fan? Fan is used, this is fan, not like the home fan. Fan inside the CPU used to cool CPU. Okay, yes. Then we have, it's also known as cooling fan. Then we have inside the CPU, we have, what else? We have cables in the CPU, and we have buses, and also we have cards. We have sound card, TV card, and also you can extend more. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue, we have software components. As we're going to learn about software components, this is CPU, and this is computer case. So there is a difference between computer case and CPU. See you in our next video. Ladies and gentlemen, let us get into software components. Okay? What is a software? As we said, softwares are programs that run and control the computer, and they are attached to the hard drives. Okay, so as we said about softwares are just hardware. Software are intangible parts of the computer. So let's run. There are two types of softwares. I'm going to tell you this in the class. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have three types of softwares. We have system software. What are system software? System softwares run in the computer. When you buy your mobile phone, there is a system software. Most of the people know it as Android. That is the system software. When you buy a computer, the system software is Windows. On Mac we call it Mac OS. On Windows, and we have Linux also is a software. Then we have different types of software. We have system software and utility software. System software are the softwares that when you buy a device, they are already installed into your device. Okay, they make other softwares and they allow other softwares get in and be installed into your gadget or device or computer. Then we have utility software, maintaining the system, antivirus, disk cleanup. We call them utility softwares. Antivirus, malwares, firewalls, we call them utility softwares. Basically, they are for security. For the security of your laptop, you need a utility software. Then the last one, we have application software. When you buy a mobile phone, you buy a mobile phone with Android already installed. After buying the mobile with this software Android, that is called system software. Then you need to install WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. This is also known as application software. That's why we call them apps, mobile apps. Facebook is a mobile app, so those are known as application software. Any software that you install in your mobile phone is called application software. The software that came with your mobile phone is called system software. It controls the system, okay? So we have utility software, we have system software, and we have application software. Utility softwares are mainly for security. Application softwares are mainly for external. You include them after system software. So for example, Windows is a system software, and Mac OS is a system software. So, ladies and gentlemen, now from the system software, now you understand more about computer. And next, we will now learn about how the technology works in programs. Thank you and welcome back in another lesson in our next video. That was all about computer system and computer components. Welcome again.